No, I feel that, this is what you're saying is so beautiful, and there's a sense of equanimity when I'm thinking about this, and but like, but I can see, like, don't get attached to that,
Mm. Well, you simply take each attachment as a kind of like a bell, like a, oh, bring it back. Or as one of my dear friends sometimes says, take it as a graceful reminder. Oh, that's right. I don't have any control at all. Thank you, Lord. In the midst of burning fire, pain, or even suffering, like emotional pain, let's say, that thank you can still happen. Or that knowing, yeah, I don't have any control, and just to let go in the midst of this. There can be a peace that doesn't make any sense even as there is suffering. And sometimes it's just faint and we can barely contact it, but it's there. So much suffering is addition. I mean, suffering is really the addition of the mind. There's pain, which is real, and there are things that happen that are horrible. To let ourselves feel that is important, really important, especially to be able to have compassion and for others. It's important for us to be real and honest about sadness, grief, pain, suffering, for loss and for difficulty. And to allow ourselves to feel that and drop into that. It's very uncomfortable, but it can't destroy you. And we only really know it by allowing ourselves to drop into that feeling. I mean, this is sometimes is difficult to get the head around, or because it seems like, well, isn't let go always free of suffering? Like I said, if the something's already moving, it doesn't just stop like that. But even as it's moving and there's suffering, the peace is still there. And allowing yourself to feel the suffering is to feel the. If you're willing to do that, then it's like the ultimate judo. It's really the only way. Like what is it in judo? Instead of a lot of the Asian martial arts, instead of resisting the force of the blow, you move with it. You make yourself one with that force. You move with it. unify with it. I mean, I am going on tangents. I hope this is okay. You know, I'm reminded of the story of, you probably heard this before, but I'm reminded that there was someone who asked the Buddha how he started on the Bodhisattva path, which is different than asking him how he became a Buddha. It's not really. I mean, it's the same question, but it's like, when did you originally get the notion, plant the seed that would become the idea of becoming a Buddha? So it's like billions of lives before he was a Buddha. He said, I'm I'm paraphrasing it, but I'm pretty sure it's really, I'm keeping it close to the original. I mean, I'm trying anyway. So, but he was out with his friends partying, or he was going to go out with his friends to party, and his mother was not happy that he was leaving the house to go out with his friends again. So she said, "Don't leave the house. Don't want you to leave the house." And he said, I'm going. I don't care what you say." So she stood at the doorway, and he pushed her down and walked over his mother. And he said, I stepped on her face while I was on the way out. And something happened when he was gone, and he died. And he said he was immediately born into some hell realm, like immediately found himself into some horrible realm where he was being tortured. And there was some like demonic creature that was constantly stepping on his face, in the way that he had stepped on his mother. And he said he was just in suffering for who knows how long. Those realms are known for like being, at least in Buddhism, they're on so long you can be in those realms. So he was basically being tortured, and then he became aware of the other beings screaming, being tortured, and he had the thought, "Wow, they're being tortured too. I wish I could take on their pain." And instantly he was transferred into a heaven realm. And so he said that was the seed that later became the kind of compassion, just like little tiny snowball beginning to roll down the hill in order to become a bodhisattva. But it wasn't his intention to be a bodhisattva. It was just a spontaneous thought. So there's something about feeling your own pain to the degree to which you can actually become aware that you're not the only one suffering, and then because you really understand their suffering because you're feeling that suffering. So when we resist our own pain, we spin off. The whole life becomes about not feeling. And so much is done to keep ourselves from feeling because it's so uncomfortable and it hurts so much. But once we allow ourselves and say, "Okay, I'm going to feel, regardless of how painful it is," this is the connection to all sentient beings. This is the relative again. It's the connection to all sentient beings. So there's this kind of paradox for me of I'm not the body, and what is the body feeling? I better feel it. Breathe into it and feel it. It's not me, but I'm going to breathe into it and feel it and be present to it. So there's both ways. There's a way in which the consciousness is free of anything that's arising, and there's another way in which that's not the excuse for not actually feeling. which sometimes is, a kind of a disassociative spirituality, which is basically using the mind, using the understanding that it's not the body as a way to just, I'm not my feelings, which is what happens anyway when someone's traumatized. They don't want to feel, so they disassociate. That's not the way. It's being willing to feel as that sacrifice again, being willing to participate in what's in front. But what's participating? Whatever aspect of yourself that feels like it's pulled back. Lean it in. Breathe. And that which is aware of it can never move forward or backwards or anything. It's just simply aware. And that is not the body and the mind. It's awareness of the body and the mind. It's awareness of the sensations. It's awareness of the feelings. But whatever it is in you that can feel, let it feel. And you could say, let it feel for the sake of all sentient beings. You're participating in the discomfort of all sentient beings. And it is like judo, because if you do that, then you suffer less anyway. It's interesting. So that's my tangent.